Good afternoon, everyone, and firstly, thank you very much for staying with us.
Yes.
We know that it's the end of the day, but we will keep this lively, we'll keep this engaging, and hopefully we'll get a bit of audience participation going as well. So, afternoon. First off, a couple of introductions. I'm Craig. I head up the client services team at Hodes. I've been with Hodes for about 4 years now, but my background was very much in-house. I was in-house recruiter in the student marketing team at KPMG and Deloitte, working on graduate attraction, so very much used to the issues that you guys are facing in the room.
And I'm Kate. I'm one of the client partners at Hodes. I've also come from an in-house background, so worked with Craig at Deloitte. I worked there for 6 years doing all of their student recruitment marketing. Also worked at a company called Saudi Aramco for a year before I came to Hodes last year.
So this afternoon session, we're going to be looking at taking your message to the masses. How are we actually going to attract students to your organisations? We've had lots of research, lots of stats this afternoon today, but we're going to try and tie all of that together and look at actually the audience that we're speaking to and how we need to be tapping up this generation. But before we do that, very, very quickly, who are we? We are Hodes. We are a creative agency for employers. We're a team of 26. We are based in King's Cross in London, and we help employers to attract, engage, retain talent into their organisations. That's our lovely faces of people who are within our business. And in terms of who we do things for, it's a real mix of clients, everything from the likes of FMCGs through to law firms, professional services, and clients in the retail sector too. And in terms of us in the graduate space, we've been very fortunate to win awards for the work that we've been doing. But let's kick off. We've got 20 minutes.
Let's go.
So for us to So to give it, I suppose, a little bit of context, we're looking at, the student market, we're looking at attracting them. In order to do that, we need to actually understand the actual market that we are operating in.
So who are these people that we're looking to attract? Firstly, they are people who are constantly connected. 86% of 18 to 35-year-olds own a smartphone. Not really a surprise, I guess.
But also, this is a generation that is completely constantly checking. Around about an average of 76 times a day, so 18 to 24-year-olds constantly on their phones checking the minimum average of 76 times a day.
They're constantly snapping. So I think there is 1.2 billion selfies a year in the UK. I'm sure it's even more than that now, but everyone is snapping and selfieing.
And this is really important. This is Generation Instant. This is a generation that can literally pick up a cab in the space of a minute, or that can literally, put an order into ASOS and have their clothes on the desk by 9 o'clock the next morning. So what does that mean, for us in recruitment? And actually, that's really, really important, because with a generation that literally can, tap on their phone and a cab rock outside, tap on their app and a pair of trousers rocks up the next day, how does that relate back to recruitment? For us now, we might think it's acceptable for an application to be received and you reply to someone within 48 hours, or someone comes to an interview and they hear back within a week. But actually, how are we going to keep up with those companies that are going to increase those speeds? Candidates want maybe instant acknowledgement that they've received your application, or they're going to be receiving feedback within 4 hours. And for us, we predict it's going to be those companies that can really keep abreast of what's going on in this instant world, that are going to be the ones that are really going to triumph.
These guys, as we said, are Generation Instant. In the last month, 68% have used an online TV streaming service. So they're no longer waiting for the TV shows to come out. They're downloading it and watching the whole series in one go. Everything is there at their fingertips.
And I suppose, we're painting a picture here of, kids constantly on their smartphones taking selfies, a generation of students that might not necessarily care, but that's not true. Although, yes, these are completely glued to their phones, this is a really socially conscious generation. So this is a generation where people do care, and it's a generation that care from a brand perspective. So the stat here, the majority of young people are happy for brands to create content and campaigns to enable international change or positive good. So actually, if you're a large organization or a large brand, if you can kind of connect what you're putting out there from a messaging and a brand perspective, in terms of a cause and something that's doing well for the environment or the planet that we're working in, that's something that these students actually resonate in.
So we mentioned some audience participation, and we want to get you guys up and helping us with something now. So we've talked a bit about the generation, we talked about how they are an instant generation, but let's have a look at the channels that they're using.
So what we have got up on the screen are 6 of some of the biggest platforms that people are using around the world, and we've also got some numbers. What we'd like is 6 volunteers.
Don't be shy.
Come on, it's the last of the afternoon. It's just six volunteers.
It's not scary.
It's not scary, and actually the ones that are coming up on the stage, you get to do nothing but move. So we just need 6 people. It's everyone else that's going to have to help.
Yeah, come on.
One more. Thank you.
So based on the numbers that are up on the screen there, what we want you guys to do is order these guys in terms of the different social channels and tell us which is the biggest in terms of following. So let's put them in order in terms of the biggest on the left-hand side and the lowest number of followers on this hand side. So anyone want to shout out where they think the first one might be? WhatsApp?
This is global.
This is global. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got WhatsApp over here. Do people agree that WhatsApp should be first?
If you can't see all the numbers, the top number is 1.86 billion.
Sorry, it's a bit small.
Yeah, so numbers are up here. You need to be placing these guys in order from top to bottom.
Yeah, you can discuss amongst yourselves and help you. So
Does anyone want to have a go? I can do some running around.
WhatsApp, Facebook, and then LinkedIn.
So we've got WhatsApp on the...
Yeah, you need to get in your order. So.
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Then LinkedIn, after Facebook, then Twitter.
Is everyone happy with this ordering?
Does anyone disagree? Oh, we've got some...
Facebook is definitely first.
Facebook first.
We've got a Facebook first.
Lydia.
What are we thinking of Facebook
first, we've got the audience saying. Naughty Lydia. Anyone else?
Everyone agree with this layout?
No?
Lots of debate going on up here.
We'll have to stop it there. Do you want this, Craig? Okay. There you go. I think we're going to have to stop it, otherwise it might go on for quite a while. And we've got drinks to get to.
Okay.
I think the audience and the stage members are a little out of sync, but hey ho. Right, final answer.
We're stopping there. Are we right? Pretty close. Just one wrong there, just the Twitter. Twitter needs to come down this way. One more. One more. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So that is the order in terms of following. Just gives you a real kind of idea of the number of people that are on these social channels, and we'll talk a bit more about the type of language students are using on these channels in a second. But thank you very much for everyone coming and helping. Thank you.
Lovely. So I suppose that just gives you a bit of a flavour of, where those conversations are happening. And obviously from a recruitment perspective, different recruiters are using different channels, but we'll come on, I suppose, in a moment to talk about how we can actually start passively attracting some of those students on those channels, whether or not we're sort of having recruitment conversations per se on those.
Cool. So now we're going to talk a bit about the lingo. So do we get the lingo that these guys are using? Some of these words here, do they mean anything to you? Do you recognize them? Some of them I don't, but some of them I do. And just trying to kind of think about, we're not saying this is the type of language you should be using in your recruitment attraction campaigns, but we're just trying to get you to think in the mindset of a student. They're used to using this shorthand, emo, whatevs kind of conversation. And another thing that they're doing is using emojis. So the number of people now using emojis to express their emotions online is 72%. So even they can't be bothered to write their emotions now, it's just a symbol. So really thinking about that generation instant and thinking about the way they're communicating with each other. So when you're talking to your kind of stakeholders internally, it's really important to get them to understand the type of people you're looking to attract, and especially when we're thinking about apprentices who are a lot younger and they're not expecting to come across these really corporate systems. So we're just going to ask you now, does anyone know who this guy is? One person. Does anyone know who this is? More people. So this is Alfie Days. He has 5.2 million plus subscribers. He has 400 million plus video views of his videos. This is Zoella, you may have heard of, 12 million subscribers and 927 million plus video views.
So I suppose these guys are vloggers, and this is really important because actually what we know nowadays is that young people are becoming quite, disengaged with brands per se. We understand, from a corporate social responsibility perspective, yes, they're happy to kind of engage brand messaging, but actually, brands in general are no longer resonating with our younger audience. They're becoming quite disengaged with them. They don't necessarily believe the messages that people are actually putting out there. But these are the guys who none of us know because we're not 16, 17, 18. We don't sit there watching YouTube videos. Some of us might. But it's the vloggers. It's kind of building that interaction with those one-to-ones online that our generation is actually starting to listen to. They're watching, and actually this becomes their new form of television. These are the guys that the kids are coming home from school watching, from an apprenticeship level. They're the ones that, they're watching. They have their weekly programs, their daily video updates, rather than maybe watching CBeebies or whoever it might be when they're coming home from school. So definitely something we need to be considering in the student space. Just a couple of stats that we've got out here. These are the new influencers now for a millennial audience. And millennials are now watching 11.3 hours of free online video per week, which is a huge, huge amount and a huge shift away from, TV. So I suppose, what does this all mean from a student recruitment perspective? Ultimately, we need to make potential talent give a shit. And that's the truth and the crux of it. And I suppose, bringing this all back in, when we think about, talking to students and talking to student talent, we need to be thinking about it on two different ways, an emotional level and a rational level. So our active and our passive talent. Lots of, obviously, what we've heard about today and lots of what we do, we're good at kind of speaking to candidates in an active way. So those candidates that we know are actually thinking about jobs, they're actually thinking about potentially wanting to work with you. So your job postings, your messaging out on job boards, etc. But the majority of our talent actually sits in this bottom box here, our passive talent. The talent that maybe hasn't decided what they want to do yet when they finish, or they've studied a certain subject and have absolutely no clue what they want to go into. That's a talent that's not going to be looking at the job boards, that's not going to necessarily be actively looking for careers. And if they're not doing that, how are we then going to actually tap into that particular audience? And for us, it's actually connecting with those guys on an emotional level. There's no point serving those guys job content and salary information and job offers because they're not looking for it and it's not going to be in their sort of mindset to take a look at. For those guys, we need to kind of connect with them on a brand level and an emotional level. And once we've kind of done that, we can then actually start moving them into that functional space and then actually start serving them more rational job content.
And everything that we do at Hodes, we follow the kind of 4 key dimensions of the EVP process. So firstly, everything has to be credible. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. There's no point selling something from an attraction perspective that isn't going to ring true when they join the business. It has to be relevant. So like we've talked about today, talking about the type of lingo that people are using, talking about the channels that they're using, it's got to be relevant to the target audience you're trying to attract. Has to be aspirational. People want to believe that they want to go and work there. They want to feel passionate about it, and it really needs to be differentiating. So especially when in the graduate audience where sometimes they have so much choice, you need to become an employer that's going to really differentiate yourself and offer them something that's unique.
We're going to show you just a couple of quick examples to bring this to life with some of the clients that we've been working with. So the first example we're going to show you is something we've been working globally on with Unilever. So Unilever came to us and said, we'd like to speak to as many millennials around the world as possible about something that's really, really going to resonate with them, but it was a very, very open brief. So our team kind of did some research, and what we basically came up with was a campaign that really got behind millennials and looked at that kind of bigger cause. And for us, basically across the press, and actually we've seen it in that last presentation, millennials are kind of being trashed all around the world. They're being stereotyped, they're being called the laziest generation, the most narcissistic generation, the worst generation ever to pollute the planet, which was one of the media headlines. And we're kind of saying, actually, that's not fair, that's not true. And we actually created a campaign that kind of rallied around and stood up for millennials around the world, and actually allowed Unilever, a campaign that kind of resonated with their own employer brand, Bright Future Made by You, just to start speaking to millennials. This wasn't about recruitment. This was really about kind of elevating their employer brand to get students to actually start thinking about Unilever in a very different way. The campaign started with a launch video, which I'll quickly play for you now.
Today's youth are selfish, lazy and ignorant.
Okay.
Crybaby millennials need to stop whinging and work hard like the rest of us.
That's bad.
The most obnoxious, self-entitled,
Lazy and willfully ignorant generation.
Ever to pollute the surface of the earth.
the me generation.
That's not true. And that's upset me.
There are a lot of stereotypes.
We're lazy,
entitled,
Unambitious,
disloyal,
Disconnected.
I'm the founder of Stand Tall, which is an organisation that helps women and girls get back on their feet after they've been in an abusive relationship.
Starting one of the largest college safety apps in the US that has over 1 million users.
I've raised nearly $1 million for children with serious illnesses.
I want to dedicate my space trip to every single person who suffered from mental health issues.
started my own business at the same time as completing my GCSEs and now A-levels.
Words that come to mind when I think of millennials: opportunity, hope.
Ambitious, driven,
Passionate,
Always looking for the next solution.
universal.
Want to make the world a better place.
Tenacious and versatile.
So that video launched the campaign back in April 2016, and it's kind of taken us all the way through to October that's just gone. So we kind of had the launch video, and then there was lots of different interaction points all the way through across the year, which basically then went out across all the different global Unilever social channels. The end of that campaign kind of took us through to, as I said, October 2016, where we then actually started to feature real millennials at Unilever who are doing amazing things all around the world in time for that student recruitment season, sort of September, October time globally, to actually start connecting back all of the content that the students had seen over the past kind of 6 months, to then start thinking about and then making a connection that they can actually have, you know, a great career at somewhere like Unilever. And then just some of the stats of that campaign there. Another very quick example just to quickly share with you. So some work we did with Nestle. So we were talking before about vloggers and these being really, really influential. So Nestle had a challenge. They desperately tried to recruit STEM students and STEM apprentices in factory locations all around the country, really. But they've got some really, really hard to fill areas. And actually also, again, like many of you guys will also be struggling to recruit females. So as part of the campaign, again, we were trying to tap into that passive audience that didn't necessarily know that they even wanted to work in a factory site or even in sort of manufacturing. We employed Jana. So Jana is a vlogger. She's 21, 22 years old now, and she's at university, but she's actually a chocolate vlogger. So she actually does candy taste testing. She's got about 100,000 followers on YouTube. So not, we're not talking Zoella here, but we're talking enough of the demographic that we want to speak to. Again, with this audience, they see for everything. So obviously, very, very upfront. She talked to the audience, she created 2 videos, told them that she'd been asked to kind of, create a video by Nestle. And what we actually got Jana to do was to create 2 videos. One where she had to actually create a Kit Kat in her own home kitchen to see if she could create the world's biggest Kit Kat in her home kitchen. And then the second video where she actually went to the Nestle factory to actually see how the Kit Kat was made for real. And again, really, really great in terms of her actually walking around the factory location, seeing the engineering sort of, that's going on in the background, actually talking to young female apprentices. And this was going out on her YouTube channels where she's got that demographic of an audience of, young females.
No regrets. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Jana here, and today, as you can see, I'm in my kitchen, which is a little bit different. So the reason I'm in my kitchen today is because Nestle has challenged me to make a giant Kit Kat. I have no idea what I'm doing, and this is probably not going to go to plan. Inevitably, when it doesn't go to plan, they have invited me to their innovation kitchen where they're going to teach me how the professionals do it. So I'm going to give it a go. Apron? Check. Chef's hat? Check. So I have myself a pan and a bowl, and what I'm going to try to do is put some water in the pan, put the chocolate in the bowl, and try to melt it all down. And I'm going to try not to burn my house down, so we'll see how this goes. What should start happening is that the chocolate should start to melt. I've only ever seen this done on YouTube. This is starting to look extremely delicious and it smells amazing. Check this out. I mean, look at that.
You can watch more of that online if you want to. But yeah, what we used Jana as a kind of influencer in that market to really reach out to young females who we want to engage them with the Nestle brand, and they had some really great results off the back of it. Another client that we've been working with is Dixon's Carphone. So used to be Dixon's Retail and Carphone Warehouse. They came together. We developed a new employer brand for them, and this year they have launched for the first time an official graduate program. So we've been working with them to develop a core kind of suite of materials to make sure that they can attract those candidates. And we just really wanted to show you a nice way of integrating a campaign across all different channels. So we built a new kind of careers area on their website specifically for students. We built all of their on-campus materials, so their pull-up banners, brochures, giveaways. We also supported them with their media campaign and social media campaign. And also we built an interactive game for them. So if anyone wants to go and check out the game online, it's really cool. But just a nice way to engage with that student audience who want to interact with something quite quick and fast. So our top things to consider. I know we're on 20 seconds left. So for us, the key things for us for you to take away today, build a talent proposition that's really going to resonate with your audience. So think about the things we talked about today. Think about the lingo. Think about the ways they want to interact with you. Think about both active and passive candidates. So not just thinking about that kind of recruitment advertising strategy where you're posting your jobs. Think about the kind of bigger picture and think about how you can connect with that audience in an emotional way. Integrate, so make sure that everything that you do is integrated across all the different touch points that candidates are going to get in touch with you. So don't just think about your social media campaign, think about every single point that a candidate is going to reach you. Focus your efforts, so I know we talked about a number of different social media channels before. Don't spread your efforts thinly, focus on one core channel and make it work really well for you. And finally, start to think about how optimized is your recruitment process for Generation Instant. We're not saying scrap the whole ATS and do something totally different, but think about how that kind of view is going to come across when students are interacting with you. So that was super speedy, but thank you very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.